It's my privilege to present to you the second of the last speaker of the day, Professor Linda van Heesteen, or Heesteen.
Van Heesteen, that's fine.
Yeah. From the Faculty of Humanities, Department of Languages or Applied Languages. As you could see that the topic is just projected high on the screen there. Let's just afford her an opportunity to share ideas in terms of her presentation. Over to you.
Good afternoon. It's a privilege for me to be here. My paper is really directed to one of the sub-themes of what we can do to involve our students and the meaning of our activities at TUT for the students. And I'm going to talk about the significance of Mother Tongue Day for students in the Department of Applied Languages. International Mother Tongue Day was proclaimed by the United Nations in 1999 and is celebrated annually throughout the world on 21 February. The purpose is to pay homage to all the different languages and related heritage. It has its origin in a student protest for the recognition of the language Bangla in Bangladesh, resulting in the killing of 2 students by the police. The Department of Applied Languages calls it Mother Tongue Day, and it celebrates the languages that are offered as modules in the department, the African languages, Tswana, Sepedi, Tsonga, Zulu, and Venda. Of course, I also know the indigenous names of those, Setswana, Sepedi, Chikitsonga, isiZulu, Chivenda, and so on. Afrikaans, French, those are offered as service subjects. So since we are the language department, we offer those. We are planning the event for Mother Tongue Day for our students in the Department of Applied Languages who do the language practice program. Meetings take place to start planning the event, and staff members are appointed to represent the different languages offered, and they are encouraged to invite the students to prepare for the event and to enjoy it. Now, the aim also of this paper is for us as a department, since we offer the languages, we're the language department at TUT, we also want our students not only to read and write and study, but also to actively take part in the activities of the department and really initiate or stimulate some creativity as well. Attending the event will be considered as class attendance, so the invitees as guest speakers should also come from the language practice industry. When we offer this event, we also get guest speakers, as well as qualified students from academia as preparation for a future career. So we invite people from the industry, academics, and then the alma mater, the alumni students, for which TUT is an alma mater. For instance, Dr. Machaba from the Department of Arts and Culture, linked to PANSAL, Pan South African Language Board, was also invited in 2014. I must say that due to the student strike that we had, we couldn't have or host the event this year. Now, the reason is we couldn't postpone it because if we don't do it in February, the significance of this day is not relevant anymore. So it should happen towards the end of February to still commemorate that day. A big venue being either the student center or the gymnasium at the Soshanguve North or South campuses is usually booked for this event, and there are many attendees. There are about 600 students or more, and some of these students also come from other departments because they enjoy in the celebration or festivities, which we will explain or exemplify a bit later. And we also have posters which we put up to advertise the event. And usually our posters depict people in traditional attire. We usually take pictures of students. It can be a group photo or an individual. This event is also then covered in our Dynamics magazine, which is a magazine which we issue on an annual basis in our department, in which students can place their contributions, their creative contributions, poetry, etc. And it is quite a big event because it's also covered by corporate communication via the faculty marketer. The event also involves the TUT community as a whole as regards language diversity and awareness. We all have a mother tongue and we're all aware of our own mother tongues and other languages. It creates the awareness of languages as such. Words in all the official languages are included in the posters. So although we offer only 5 languages, we cover the languages covered in the posters are in all 11 official languages. Usually the planning is when we invite people, we usually invite the Dean of the Faculty to open the event, and we have an academic or a language practitioner from industry to be our guest speaker. And representatives of our language authorities in South Africa, like the Pan-South African Language Board and the Department of Arts and Culture, national language bodies. There's a isiZulu national language body, isiXhosa national language body, and so on. Lexicography units, like for Siswati, we have a lexicography unit in Mbombela, Nelspruit, and translators. Corporate communication is there from Soshanguve and Pretoria, Faculty of Humanities Marketer, Language Services, of course, which is a very, very small section at TUT. I think only 1 permanent person there, librarians and information librarians from Soshanguve, editor of corporate communication of TUT, and members of the press. So very often this event is covered in the press. And this is just one of the posters to invite, I cut it a bit, to invite the students. And to invite some of the TUT community. Of course, we cannot invite the whole of the TUT community because we simply don't have a space for that. But if students at the Soshanguve North Campus from education, for instance, they see what's happening, they want to join in because they see the lively festivities and the creative activities of our students going on there. So these are the posters to invite and make people aware, for instance. That is the program, what it looks like. As you can see, the venue there. And then also in the program, these languages are printed there. I just added the circumflex there under Chivenda because that's how it should be spelled. It was in PDF, so I couldn't add it in every instance. But those are the indigenous names of all the languages, so the official languages in South Africa, the indigenous spellings as well. Okay, and that is one of our students in traditional attire, a Zulu girl, whom we photographed and used on our program. And this is one that we had in 2013. You can see the guest speakers there. That was from the University of South Africa, and then our own head of department. And then the main focus here is the cultural items that are performed by our students, which they really enjoy, because our African students, most of our students are African students, the majority, vast majority, I'd say 99%. So they really enjoy being creative and taking part in the dancing and so on. They're not shy at all. And if we select items for this event, everyone wants to be part of it. So we have to be very selective because we cannot afford every single student an opportunity. But they are very, very enthusiastic about this. Cultural events performed by students, and we should also see this in the light of Heritage Day, which we are going to celebrate. These activities are coordinated by the lecturers, the coordinators, and they should be as representative as possible of all the languages that we offer. So we have Setswana, so we cannot have too many Setswana items. We have Tshivenda items and so on. We try and be as representative as possible. We also offer French, so there is also an item on that. And in the past, Alliance Française also sponsored some of our activities. And the items should be very short, but of course we always run out of time because the students are very enthusiastic and they cheer each other on. They really enjoy this very much. So Zulu items include some of the Giyang. Giya is for a male. And Gita, some of the traditional dances that are performed, the Tsonga, the Kribelani, Northern Sotho or Tsepedi, Dinaka for the males, and Mapadi for the girls. Some of the type of courtship dances and so on that are performed by the students. And then they wear their traditional attire for that day so as to display our cultural heritage and diversity. And they're very keen on doing that. Now, traditional could also mean topless. You know, so it can happen. But although we didn't encourage it as such, but traditional is traditional. And then we also have poetry. This was a poem written about isiZulu language. This is a poem written about mother tongue. Evokes feelings so strong, so clear, so dear, you can read it. It comes from the heart, a language from which I cannot part, since I learnt it at the breast from the start. And yes, that is your mother tongue, the language in which you rejoice and fear. And my paper also links up with the implementation of our South African language policy. We underwrite the implementation of the South African language policy, but of course it is not always implemented properly, and in many instances our policies are just written on paper but not implemented. What is the purpose? And this is my paper: to educate students of the importance of their mother tongue and to be proud of their languages and their culture. To teach respect and tolerance for other languages and cultures, which is also good for us since we had xenophobic events in our country. Students perform cultural items like poetry and dances in the official languages of South Africa for enjoyment and creativity. Now, there was another paper by Dr. Lewis earlier that also emphasize the importance of creativity for our students. Our students shouldn't just be there to perform the academic tasks. They should also enjoy themselves and really encourage others to also be creative. Now, our African students are they are really very enthusiastic to perform. They are natural performers and singers, and they have a lot of rhythm as well. So I really enjoy attending this, and so do all the other people who attend these functions. They really enjoy it. That's why some other students come and they just join us. Students from law, they come and they say, "Can we join you? We would like to join you." But they're not from the language department. So we have to screen our students because we don't always have the room to accommodate everyone. And the number of guests, that is a budget. I'm not going to go into all the detail, but it's not so costly. If you consider that we got a grant from the Advancement Office, there was a lot of paperwork. So if anyone here wants to get money for a certain event that you host, or that you want to use for a specific activity, you can approach that office long in advance. That's just one morning, because it's quite a lot of work. You have to present a budget, but of course our department also covered some of the costs. And we also offered catering for the students. In the past we had traditional catering, where we had traditional foods that were prepared. But it became too costly later, and we don't do that anymore. But the budgets shouldn't be, okay, I'm just showing you, those are that I call the Dumba. Those are Venda students performing that cultural dance, and they really enjoy it. And that is a photo of the department. A few of our staff who attended, we also were wearing traditional attire for that day. And you can see how the students enjoy the event there. I hope some of the pictures you can see. And then also, computers are not very compatible, so some of them look a bit distorted, but you can get the indication of how this was enjoyed. There were many students attending. They really enjoy this because it's part of their culture, their languages. They enjoy it very, very much, and they cheer the performers on. Those are our students. And we had a guest speaker there. We usually decorate the hall, and we also invite the library to have a display of language books and so on. Sometimes we get van Skyks, we get people from the outside. The RTKV also sponsored us with books in the past. And the issue that the guest speaker raises is usually a language typical issue and so on. How to improve and maintain the languages. Because in South Africa, if we don't make a specific effort to maintain our indigenous languages, they may die out in future. But fortunately we teach 5 African languages in our department, and I think by doing that, I'll come to that later. So that is also some of the Venda dancers, and then one of our staff members were joining in as a married woman. So those were the people invited from the library services, corporate communication and so on, also wearing, as you can see, the Tsonga dress there, and some of the Xhosa right at the end. And that is a Xibelani, that is the Tsonga dance. As you can see, those are the students, and they really enjoy it so much. You can see even the movement, there's movement in the picture. And that was in the gymnasium, so the students really enjoy this, and they cheer on. You can see them almost there rejoicing and clapping. Okay, language policy. I have to come back to language policy because that also links up with our paper. Now, this is a TUT language policy. We have to develop Setswana as a language. It's a primary indigenous languages that should be developed by TUT. I can just mention that we don't have signage in any of the African languages at our institution like other universities. But yet we have this policy in our, we have this in our TUT. This is an extract from the TUT language policy. And that we should have developed at least this language as a language for scientific and communication purposes. Now, that hasn't really happened because we don't have such projects running. And also, it's adopted Siswati as its secondary indigenous South African language to be developed at an Nelspruit or Bombela site. There was a project that was started many years ago to do this, but it didn't really come off the ground. And we also do not offer Siswati as one of the languages at the TUT. Now, after the event, those are also the posters, also in the indigenous languages, saying goodbye to everyone. As you can see, we try and cover all the languages. Those are some of the posters. Yes. In South Africa, in our language department, we have reasons to celebrate this day since we live in a country with 11 official languages, which we should all recognize. Yes, we are bound to this African continent, in particular Mzansi, which is the nickname for South Africa nowadays, and the South African heritage, the day that we will soon be celebrating. We devote this Mother Tongue Day to celebrate linguistic diversity and to promote international understanding and language awareness, and to rekindle pride in the mother tongue and indigenous culture. So we should also encourage our children, our learners, to learn as many languages as possible. Goethe, one of the great writers in the German literature, once said, if you don't know other languages, you don't even know your own language. So the more you study other languages, the more you know about your own language. And even this is the case, even in our African languages are linked to the other African languages on the continent. There are many similarities. According to postulations of Guthrie, Meinhof, there is evidence for that. By understanding and learning more languages, tolerance, dialogue, and eventually peace will be promoted throughout the world. Languages. People underestimate languages, and even in all the subjects that we teach, you should know that languages are actually offered across the curriculum. If we look at our CAPs, languages are offered across the curriculum. So you have to have good language skills in order to understand subject matter and concepts. It's very important. Sometimes we don't realize that. At least I can say that this institution strives for the development and maintenance of the previously disadvantaged languages, in that it offers the most African languages of all residential universities. In South Africa, we offer 5 languages: Tshivenda, Sepedi, isiZulu, Xitsonga, and Setswana in the language practice program of the Department of Applied Languages. And that is towards the maintenance of these languages. If these languages are not taught, they will not be developed or maintained. Furthermore, these languages are offered for the first language speakers in a mother tongue in modules in the program. They are also offered as practical language courses for non-mother tongue speakers. Yes, our programs work this way, that our students have to major in 3 language modules as part of the language program, practice program. So that is in itself a promotion towards multilingualism and the implementation of the South African language policy. Thank you very much.